just go ahead and we'll go ahead and get started. Again, I'm John Maust, President of MAI, and I'd really like to welcome you all to the webinar this morning. We're calling it an orientation, but I think, it's not a formal orientation per se. I'd just like to share a few things that I hope will help us all kind of get mentally prepared for the conference, which is, wow, it's almost exactly 2 months away now. So it'll be here before we know it. Ramon, are you still there, Ramon?
Yes, John.
I'm trying to advance.
You can advance your
no.
You can advance your screen through your keyboard or.
Yeah, I don't. It's not advancing. So I wonder if you're able to do
through
that.
Your mouse. It's not advancing. So what about your mouse? If you.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
So anyway, thank you so much, each one of you, for helping to equip and to encourage your publishing and writing colleagues from around the world, many of whom serve in difficult places for Christian activity of any kind. And when I say difficult, I'm referring possibly due to political situations or economic situations, or in certain cases, persecution or hostile environments for Christian publishing and writing. So the people you will meet at LittWorld will come from many different backgrounds. So far, I'm really happy to say we have 234 publishing staff and writers from 52 countries who are registered. We're expecting that we'll likely be at around 250 by the time of the conference. So it'll be a large group and a diverse group. We have some countries that will be represented at LittWorld for the first time, such as Bhutan, Slovenia, even Japan, who surprisingly we've not had publishers from Japan at LittWorld for whatever reason, and we will have some publishers from Japan at LittWorld in Singapore. So a lot of the people will be new to us, new to me. There are always a few who are repeaters who have been at LittWorld before, including some of you who are speaking and teaching and sharing. So, each LittWorld takes on sort of a life of its own, has its own unique chemistry that develops. As you think about the conference, just please pray with us for good chemistry from the Holy Spirit among those who will be there. By way of introduction, I'd like to introduce a few members of our host team. They have been fantastic, working extremely hard each day, really, leading up to the conference. You'll see left to right Chin Tan, who's head of Write Editions, a publishing house in Singapore, and Bernice Lee, who's with Graceworks, and also she's chair of MAI Asia. We have a board in Asia, and she's the chair of that, and she is the host chair of LittWorld. And then going on across to the right is Emily Lim, who's a children's author and children's publisher in Singapore, very gifted in that area. And then Priscilla Lim, who works with Bernice at Graceworks. She's our tech person for the conference. Every conference needs a tech person, that's for sure. Also on the host team, who are not pictured here, we have Christina Lim from Armor Publishing, John Tan, and then also Carol Teo, who's been doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work and helping to arrange visas for people who will need visas. Last time we were in Singapore in 2015, we were so thankful that nobody was turned away for lack of a visa. And just all the work that goes into those visa invitation letters, and particularly from some of the countries where it's more difficult to get a visa, Carol has been doing a lot of work. While I'm thinking about it, actually I'm going to be doing kind of a chain of consciousness thing here today. As things come to mind, I'm going to share them. We do expect a group of at least 20 participants from China, so just pray with us that all of those friends from China won't have any difficulty coming to Singapore. We didn't have a problem in 2015, so we certainly hope we won't in 2018 as well. So I'm super thankful for this host team. You'll meet them all when you're in Singapore. Then some of the staff, MAI is a small staff here at the Chicago area office. There are 4 of us. Ramon Rocha, going left to right again, who's our Director of Publisher Development. He's our world traveler. He does a lot of on-site training in various parts of the world. Then Dawn Jewell, who manages our website, our social media, our newsletters. She'll be doing a lot of communications responsibilities and tasks at LittWorld. And then there's me, and then Bonnie McCullough, who's been doing registration-related tasks leading up to LittWorld. A lot of work there. So I'm blessed with a great team. What makes LittWorld unique? For those of you who've been at LittWorld before, I maybe be stating some things that you already know, but as I think about LittWorld, one of its unique features is that it's very participatory. By that I mean that many people are involved in the program. It's not just a handful of kind of high-powered speakers who come in and they give their talk and they're gone, but LittWorld is very participatory. Typically we will have at least 40 men and women involved in the program in some way, whether as plenary speakers or workshop leaders or devotional speakers or one-on-one mentors. So we really like that because it kind of levels the playing field. We want it to be very participatory and all the world regions represented. We're not always as successful as we might like, having a completely diverse contingent of resource leaders, but we are very representative. We strive for that. And by giving people opportunities to share in the program, I think it just validates the different works that are going on around the world. So it is participatory. And then second, I alluded to this already, the accessibility of resource leaders. Basically, almost all of you will be at the conference for all 5 days. With maybe 1 or 2 exceptions, but almost all of you will be there and you'll be available. You'll be there at break times, you'll be there at meal times, in addition to when you're presenting. So participants have access to you. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but in this webinar, but this is one feature that I think makes LittWorld unique, that people can talk to you at various points during the week. And then also, it is a training conference. LittWorld is a training conference, but in addition to the training, we really emphasize the encouragement aspect, because just about always there are some who come literally ready to give up. I mean, they're working in very difficult contexts and circumstances, and they're wondering, is it worth it all? And they're really hungry for just a word of encouragement, both professionally and spiritually, a fresh word from God, an encouragement to go forward in their calling to serve the Lord through writing and publishing. So we try to find that balance between the how-to and the training, and then also encouragement. What are the key elements of the conference schedule? I'd just like to walk us through a typical day at LittWorld. And by the way, I'd encourage you to go online on the MAI website and review the conference schedule. You'll see it there. You'll see a lot of things about, we're putting updates on the conference on the website regularly. So take a look at the conference schedule when you have an opportunity. We begin each day at 7:30 with a morning devotional. Each of these morning devotionals will relate to the conference theme, the Word Made Fresh. We have a different speaker each morning. I should also mention at this point that we have a conference chaplain, what we call our chaplain, Sue-In Tan, who's the husband of Bernice Lee, the host chair of LittWorld. Sue-In is a gifted writer, speaker, mentor, and he's going to be available. Well, in addition to moderating or leading the morning devotionals, he will be available during the conference to meet individually with anybody who has a particular concern, spiritual need, other kind of need. They just want to talk with somebody, an objective person who can maybe pray with them and give them some counsel. So I mention that too, as you interact with people, and you run into somebody at the conference that has a really pressing spiritual need of some kind or another, and you get a sense they should really sit down and talk with somebody and maybe pray with somebody. Sue-Ann is available for that throughout LittWorld, so we're really thankful for him for that. I should say we will also have a worship leader, that's a music worship leader each morning, Daniela Benavelli from Italy, who will be doing that. So these devotionals will start at 7:30 in the morning, and it's kind of hard to roll out of bed to go down to that before breakfast, but I really encourage you to. These are very important in the life of the conference. We'll be varying the prayer each morning, sometimes in small groups, sometimes one-on-one, sometimes as a large group. So the morning devotionals are an important part of each day. Then some of you will be doing plenary sessions. We have, I believe, 9 plenary sessions when we're all together in the main auditorium. Every morning we have a plenary, and then there'll be a couple of plenaries in the afternoons as well. What makes the plenaries unique, or where they fit into the overall conference program, is building vision. They aren't so much a how-to. If you're a plenary speaker, we're not that interested in like how to do something, although obviously that could be part of it. But it's building vision. It's helping participants kind of see the big picture of why we do what we do in Christian publishing and writing. We're kind of letting people know what's coming down the line, maybe in some cases preparing them for trends and things that we can expect as Christian publishers and writers around the world in the coming years. It's vision building, seeing the big picture, helping people, men and women, think outside the box, challenging us not to accept the status quo. It's all of that about vision building, being creative, maybe doing something differently than we've done in the past. So yeah, these are more important times, these plenaries. And typically we'll allow some time for questions at the end of the plenaries, in which from the platform we'll field questions. And if you're leading a plenary, you will stay there for a few more minutes and just be available to ask some questions from the floor as well. Now, at the last LittWorld, we started doing something new, and we were happy with how it worked out, and so we're doing it again this time, is core morning workshops. What that means is that participants, I think you may know this already, they can choose from one of 8 tracks for each morning to go to that track and attend a 90-minute workshop. Now, these tracks are on different areas of publishing, and participants are encouraged and urged to stay in that same track each day. In other words, they won't kind of bop around from one core track to another Monday through Thursday. They will stay in that same track. It allows, in a conference with 230, 250 participants, by being in a morning workshop track, it does allow you to get to know a smaller group of people a little bit better. So that's one reason we do it. But another reason is it allows more of an integrated approach to training, that ideally each workshop kind of builds on the one that came before it. We'll have a track coordinator who will kind of help the discussion keep moving in the core morning workshops. Some of you listening right now are track coordinators. So we will be doing that again. And as I mentioned, there are 8 tracks. Then there are also workshops offered in the afternoon that are elective workshops. In other words, participants can choose any workshop they would like. These workshops kind of tend to break out in the same kind of track focus. There'll be editorial, publishing, finance, and all of those different topic areas, but participants can choose from any one of them. Some of the morning workshops will be repeated in the afternoon, because we recognize that some will wish, wow, I wish I could have been in that other core track too, because I would have liked to have attended 1 or 2 of those workshops. So we are repeating some of the morning workshops in the afternoons. So again, as you look through the conference schedule that you'll see on the website, notice if you are being asked to repeat your workshop from the morning at some point in an afternoon, because some of you were asking you to repeat your workshops. If you're not being asked to repeat your workshop, it's not because your workshop is not as good or any less important. It's just that's how it's kind of worked out as we've planned. So check it out. See if you're being asked to repeat your workshop, and if you have an issue with that, or if you have any questions, you can let me know. Also each day, well, not every day, we're not doing this on the Wednesday, but on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday of LittWorld Week, we've scheduled 30-minute consultations, which are one-on-one. Participants will come with specific questions and concerns for your input. And I hope you all received my email letter from a couple of weeks ago, in which I asked you to indicate whether or not you're willing to serve as a mentor in the one-on-one consultations. If you haven't responded to me yet, I'd really encourage you to do that. Actually, I think I may resend that email in case you didn't receive it or it's gotten lost somewhere in your inbox. Because we will, participants will be asked to sign up for the consultations alongside the name of a specific person, you. So they may see your name and they know what your expertise is, and they will sign up beside your name and say, I would really like to meet with Cindy Coloma or whoever. So let us know. We recognize that LittWorld is a very busy time. You may feel kind of like you're on call 24/7. That's really not the case, but you may think, wow, you know, maybe I could do it for one day, but I don't think I'd like to do it all 3 days, or maybe I'd love to do it all 3 days. But please give that some thought and let us know when and if you're willing to serve as a mentor in the one-on-one consultations. You know, it's amazing what we've seen happen in these one-on-one consultations. In this slide on your screen, you'll see Peter Conloff, who's now on the left, who's now retired from publishing. But I remember one particular LittWorld when Peter met with a young man from Africa who was just thinking, you know, should I start I'd really like to start a Christian publishing house, but I need some input on that. And really out of that one consultation, a publishing house was born in Africa. So you never know what can happen as a result of these consultations. So again, you don't need to do any advanced prep for these. You need to be kind of all in terms of listening and trying to discern, you know, what some of the maybe this underlying questions and concerns are that are being evidenced by this person that's meeting with you. And it's a way to build relationships, and people will really enjoy and be grateful for this 30 minutes with you in the one-on-one consultations. We always eat pretty well at LittWorld, and I know if 2018 is similar to 2015, we'll have some wonderful coffee breaks at the Village Hotel Changi. I remember when I first started to go to LittWorld back in the 90s, I think break times were like 15 minutes or something. I mean, they were pretty short because we felt, wow, we need to cram everything in what we could. But we've realized that some of the most valuable times at LittWorld are the conversations. And if we don't build in enough space for these kinds of conversations, we're really missing out. So break times are 45 minutes in the mornings and in the afternoons, you know, during the LittWorld conference. And I'd encourage you just to kind of circulate, and, you know, it may be that you're in demand, people will single you out and they want to talk with you, but just try to take advantage of these break times to kind of circulate and get to know some of the people who will be there, as well as take advantage of the tasty treats. We'll have a book display room open during the break time, so that's another place where people can go and visit and mingle and also see what publications are out there in the world. You do have the opportunity, if you haven't indicated to us yet, to get a tiny table space. We have, you know, it's a big conference and the room is only so big, but you can request like a third of or a half of a table where you can put out some of your titles. So that's, again, a good opportunity for you to introduce people to what you're doing, and also to engage in conversation with people at different intervals in the book display room. It's usually a very active area. So that will be open during the conference, not during the sessions, but during the break times and certain free times that we have. We typically at LittWorld, we have an afternoon outing because after sitting and going through some fairly intense sessions, we find it's really helpful for everybody to get out and get a little bit of exercise. So this time we're really pleased that the host team has arranged for us to go to the Singapore Botanic Gardens. It's an amazing place. Even for somebody like me who doesn't know a lot about plants, it's amazing. Beautiful spot just to walk and again to visit and to interact with participants who are at the conference. We're going to be doing an outdoor picnic at the Botanic Gardens that day on Wednesday afternoon and evening. And if it turns out that it's happening to rain, you'll see in this slide there's like a band shell. We'll probably take our picnic lunches underneath the shelter of that band shell, but it should be a really pleasant time. Trusting we'll have good weather, and yeah, so it's a time of rest, exercise, and in continuing conversation. We always have a difficult balance at LittWorld, actually, because some people who come are extremely hungry for all the info, tips, handouts, lectures that they can get. And so a few of those people might say, "Whoa, why are we taking half a day to go to the Botanic Gardens and have a picnic and visit?" But again, we would tell them that some of the greatest value of LittWorld comes in the conversations and the relationships that are formed. We talk a little bit about a LittWorld family. That may sound cliche, but it's true. We have truly seen that over the years, a type of a LittWorld family or a LittWorld network has formed in which people keep in touch between conferences. And for years, friendships and relationships are formed that are valuable for encouragement and also even for collaborative publishing, collaborative editorial and writing projects. It's really interesting how these develop. So these quote unquote free times are very important. By the way, that evening when we go back to the hotel, we'll tell you more about this later, but we're going to be doing an equivalent of LittWorld's Got Talent. We did this in Kenya, which was really a kind of a hilarious but an amazing time, just to sharing together of serious talents, but also some just fun or funny things. So Wednesday will be a good break in the action, and then Thursday, the last full day of the conference, will be pretty intense, filled with workshops and sessions. So again, just to repeat, please review the conference schedule, which can be found online. See where you're scheduled to speak and let me know if you have any questions or concerns. I should say that this webinar, we should be done in another 15 minutes or so. But at the end, if you have any questions, we can take some time for questions through the chat. Okay. My PowerPoint just disappeared. There we go. And some of the most lasting outcomes of LittWorld will result from your conversations with participants in meals, breaks, and other times of informal sharing. As you prepare, remember that for many, English is not their first language. I'm stating the obvious here, but it's true. And that being the case, I would recommend that you maybe speak a little more slowly, move a little bit more slowly than you might do otherwise, just to make sure that everybody's tracking with you. I don't mean an exaggerated, slow, enunciation, but just kind of be aware that English is not the first language, and don't move too quickly. Also avoid slang terms, that figures of speech and terms that probably wouldn't be understood by someone for whom English is not their first language. I think everybody loves humor, but I've seen, and maybe you have too, that it definitely does not always translate cross-culturally. So when you do use humor, Again, you would probably want to avoid slang or anecdotes that would only be understood by someone from your particular culture. In the workshops, do not assume that your listeners have understood necessarily. Ask questions as you go along, summarize as you go along. I should say too, do not try to fill the whole workshop with content, but engage your listeners, your participants in the material. And in the workshops, and even for the plenaries, if you have handouts that you feel would be appropriate and valuable to the participants, we'll want you to let us know so that we can have those copies ready. I'll talk more about that in just a moment. A word to workshop leaders, there will be a room monitor, someone assigned to every workshop room who will arrive early and just be available to you to help if you have any last minute needs, like you're needing a whiteboard. I mean, every room will have one, but there may be something that comes up or there's a need among one of the participants in your classroom, in your workshop room. So that person is available to you to run errands or to go out and try to help with whatever your need is. I would encourage you to start and end on time. I think your room monitor will help you with that, remind you of that if it seems like you may be running over. Share content, but involve your listeners in material through questions and discussion. We've all been in a workshop where maybe there's one person who dominates the discussion. Try not to let that happen. That's kind of a tricky thing, but just be aware of that. Avoid the temptation of trying to cover too much material. I always remember hearing Philip Yancey speak one time, talking about content idolatry. I've done all this preparation, you're going to have to hear it all. So just avoid the temptation of trying to cover too much. And I find it's helpful to me to ask myself, what is the main takeaway that I want participants to have from my workshop or my plenary session too? What's the main takeaway or main takeaways? Maybe there are 2 or 3 things, but keep it fairly simple. That will help guide you in your preparation and what you share so that you achieve your goal that participants do indeed have that main takeaway, something that they can put into practice or that concept that will influence them going forward. A little checklist as the days count off leading up to LittWorld. We've asked if you would sign and return a release form. That was in the email that I sent to you. If you didn't receive it, you can let me know. Basically, that it just gives us permission to use your material on our website or in some form with other people who weren't able to go to LittWorld. If you don't want us to do that, that's fine too, but we just need to know whether or not you give us that release. Also, send us your digital teaching files in PDF. Each file should be no bigger than 10 megs. By October 3rd, I realize that's about 3 or 4 weeks out from the conference. You think, why do you need it that early? But it would be helpful to us if we could have those in advance. And when you're thinking digital files, think in terms of files that you would like photocopied, things that you would like people in your workshop or your plenary to have, and then also soft copies. For instance, your PowerPoint, just so that we would have that. But again, we would like it sent to us in a PDF. If you could save it as a PDF and indicate which files need photocopying. We'll have those copies ready for you when you arrive. What we'd really like to do, just being considerate to our host team, is to avoid situations which, the very day of the workshop, we say, oh, I forgot I have this copy, and then it becomes difficult to make sure that those copies are made in time. So we'd be really grateful to you if you could send us your digital files by October 3rd to Priscilla. You'll see her email here at graceworks.com.sg. We do have a new feature of this particular, we're going to be using a conference app. And I'm sorry to say I've never attended a conference where a conference app is used. I guess I need to get out more, but probably some of you have attended conferences where there's a conference app. It becomes a helpful tool for sharing files, for even communicating with other participants at the conference. I would encourage you, if you're going to be taking along a smartphone, that you download the Whova app. We're using Whova. It's a conference app. Download. I hope you're still with me. I don't know where my screen just went, but it's strange. Okay.
John, your audio is back.
Okay. I guess this is practice for technical difficulties. I hope we don't have any in Singapore, but what was I saying? Oh, yeah, the Whova app. I would recommend that you download that to your smartphone. And digital files from workshops and plenaries, if you've given us your release, will be there, available to people. Like if participants who aren't able to attend a certain workshop can still access the notes from the workshop they may have wanted to attend. Advise us regarding any equipment needs you may have. And again, let us know if you're willing to serve as a mentor in the consultations. And then also be prepared to do a short video, like a 3-minute video in which you summarize what was the main point of your workshop or the main point of your plenary. We found these are really valuable tools for people, particularly who can't attend LittWorld. They can, in 3 minutes, hear you give a summary of what was the main idea of your workshop or your plenary session. So you will be scheduled to do this little 3 to 5 minute video. I hope you'll be willing to do that. We have a video team that will be at the conference that will be filming you. So I hope you'll find it kind of a fun exercise too. And send me any questions about the above at my email address, john@littworld.org. Just as we're kind of coming to a conclusion here, I sometimes find it helpful for me myself, and maybe it will be for you too, to look back at some comments from past participants at LittWorld. Helen Tingakecha from Greece wrote after LittWorld, "In spite of the fact that I knew a lot about writing, I was afraid to write. Now I've finally overcome that fear. If before I was ready and mature to fly, LittWorld gave me the wings." I love that. You know, if we can, in what we share, we can, with God's help, give people the wings. I mean, they're amazingly gifted people who will be at the conference, and sometimes it's not skills that are holding them back, it's other things. Lack of encouragement, fear, as Helen had, just timidity or uncertainty, self-doubt. And if we can be a catalyst to light a spark, help give people the wings to fly, that's huge. Charles Christian, who was at the last LittWorld in Singapore 2015, commented afterwards, "The conference helped me to see myself as a part of the bigger picture of what God is doing globally through his servant writers, editors, and publishers. I look forward to investing more in publishing meaningful Christian literature, primarily for the local church, but also for the global church." I like what he says here about being part of the bigger picture, because I find that our international friends, many who will be at LittWorld, really value feeling that they are sitting at the table with all the global publishers out there serving God. Sometimes there can be a perception that somehow maybe the Western Christian publishers are in a different category. I mean, I realize that's a stereotype maybe, or kind of a big generalization, but what we want to communicate at LittWorld, that this is a level playing field, that we're all, no matter whether we're from Laos or we're from the UK or whatever the case might be, we're all part of this global publishing team, as it were, of men and women who are serving God through the written, published word. It can be kind of a revelation, I think. We find this on closing night, I think, at LittWorld, typically when everybody is there together, and maybe we're forming a circle to kind of conclude, and just we're realizing that we're all part of this team of amazing and gifted, creative men and women all around the world who are building up the church and impacting society for Christ through the written word. There's a quote from the last LittWorld from a publisher from Pakistan who said, "After the conference, I was encouraged enough to launch 2 challenging projects, which when completed will bring many people to Christ, especially from the majority community." So here's a case where somebody came away from LittWorld with 2 particular book projects in mind. That really gets excited because, there you're talking about tangible outcomes, actual projects, and we would love to see that happen. And it's something, as we pray for LittWorld, let's pray that some tangible publishing related projects emerge. Maybe not immediately from LittWorld, but the idea has been planted, the seed has been planted for something that will take shape and be born and find its way into the hands of readers, or before the eyes of readers around the world. So we have ample evidence of this happening over the past years of LittWorld. So that's one of the main reasons why we really continue it, because we do see these kinds of publications and projects and outcomes that emerge. Again, as you kind of mentally prepare yourself and spiritually prepare yourself for LittWorld, remember that you are not only investing your life and your ministry in individuals, but ultimately you're investing in their nations and readers that they serve. We will have people at LittWorld who are the only Christian publishers in their countries. So what a strategic investment that you're making to, in a big or small way, encourage that person to go forward, giving that person new skills, tools, insights, vision to be even more effective in serving the readers in their nation. So it's really cool. It's an amazing opportunity. We could call it a responsibility as well. God would help us be good stewards of ourselves and our talents and of our experiences as we invest in the participants at the conference. So again, I want to thank you, and I ask you to be praying for God's hand upon the preparations of the conference. There's still quite a bit to be done, just logistically for LittWorld. The host team and staff are working very hard with that. And let's be praying that God will use us to help accomplish His purposes in the lives and ministries of the participants at LittWorld, the advance of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And in terms of prayer, we will be sending everybody, both you as resource leaders and all the participants, and then other friends of MAI around the world, 30 days of prayer guide for LittWorld with a specific prayer request for each day leading up to and through the LittWorld conference. So we find that'll be a helpful tool for you as you pray for the conference specifically about different people in the program, aspects of the program, and desired outcomes. You can be watching for LittWorld updates on our website. If you're not following us on Facebook, there'll be a lot on Facebook as well, and also our MAI Twitter. So that's all I had for you today. I will be you'll be hearing from me individually by email as I follow up with specific things related to each of your presentations at the conference. So you will be hearing from me individually as well by email, but we have just a couple of minutes. If anybody has a question they feel would be valuable for all of us to, and I see one question here, what is the dress code? We don't really have a dress code. I guess maybe in one of our publications we said business casual, but we're a pretty casual group. We don't want you to be uncomfortable, dress comfortably. On the closing night of LittWorld, we have kind of a celebration dinner and banquet, and sometimes participants will bring like a national dress or something that looks distinctly from their country. So if that fits you, if you have something like that you'd like to bring, that's welcome. But we don't have a specific dress code per se. Be comfortable and just enjoy the conference. Please confirm the standard items in each room. We will have a projector in each room, workshop room. We will have a whiteboard in each room. We will have a flip chart in each room. So we should be pretty well covered. But if you have any other particular needs in addition to that, please let me know. Will the sessions and workshops be recorded? Good question. All the plenaries will be videoed, and they will be available. I think there may be one plenary where for security reasons we won't be doing video of that, but all the plenaries will be carried on video. The workshops will not. At present, we are not planning to do audio recordings of the workshops, but if there's a change with that, I will let you know. I see Bernice is saying yes, all plenaries will be videoed. Will there be translators in our sessions? We will have a group of Chinese participants. They will have their own translation. And if you know, if we become aware of any other particular language needs, we will look for translators to help out. If you have somebody in your group, in your workshop, that sounds like they're talking during the workshop, it may be because that person is translating one-on-one or to a small group individually in the session. How many people are expected in a breakout session? I would say you could expect around 25. We have 8 workshop tracks running simultaneously. And as I was looking through signups for the different core morning workshop tracks, they broke out pretty evenly. I think most of them will be at least around 20. You know, there's a few of the workshops may be bigger than that or smaller than that. But you can expect, I would plan for around 25 or so. I'm just looking to see if there are any other questions you may have. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions right now. Again, email me as questions come up. I know questions come up. When are we asked to do the short video? Yeah, we'll inform you of that. Probably, well, we'll do that in advance of the conference. You'll be scheduled at different intervals during the free times. We don't want to take you out of sessions, but you will be scheduled and we'll let you know. And we'll try to do that before the LittWorld so you can plan accordingly. Will there be a meeting or fellowship with other speakers before or during LittWorld? We don't presently have that planned. I will be following up with all of you after the conference to get your evaluations, you know, of what worked, what didn't work. We'll use a form, but for that evaluation, but we'll also ask for open-ended evaluation from you. But at this moment, we don't have a specific meeting or fellowship with the other speakers. You will all receive this PowerPoint recording within the next day or two. Question was asked, so you will have that as well. Okay, well, this has been great. I'm looking forward to when I can talk to you all in person and interact with you then. But I think that will about do it for today. Again, I want to thank you and look forward to all that you'll have to share at LittWorld. So God bless, and we'll be in touch.